it will be difficult to find homeless people, but in Latin America, it's quite common. Does it work in the same way everywhere?
Homeless people, I believe that homelessness is planned before we're born. I think it takes a lot of courage to plan an experience like that, particularly when you consider that the average homeless person, like the rest of us, doesn't remember that they planned that experience. So it's very easy for the homeless person to fall into the kind of victim consciousness we spoke about earlier, and they know that before they come into body. So it takes a tremendous amount of courage to take a risk like that.
Yeah. The question is in the way that in Europe and North America is not quite common to find homeless people. It's more difficult that in Latin America is full of homeless people. So that is the reason I think she asked that question, because she, as I think for her, is difficult to think that every homeless people she found is a highly evolved soul, but it could be, right?
It could be. Absolutely.
Absolutely. And the next question is from Mia, from Chile. It's not really a question. It's like a cry for help. She wrote, "My son committed suicide 2 years ago. So I blame myself that I could prevent it." It's just what she wrote. But I would like to help some, some ideas about suicide situation.
Well, there's a whole chapter in my second book, El Donde Tom, about the pre-birth planning of suicide. It's never planned as a certainty, but it is planned as a potential. And there are 2 pages in that chapter that I feel contain the single most healing piece of information I've ever come across in all the years I've been researching pre-birth planning. We do a channeling session with Jesus, and he tells us that every suicide that could have been prevented was prevented. And what he means is, if the suicidal person has the slightest openness or willingness to change their mind, spirit knows and spirit stages an intervention. That means that if the suicide is completed, the person had no openness to change their mind, in which case there couldn't be an intervention. So bottom line, there was literally nothing she could have done.
I think that answer is going to help many, many people, some feeling of relief, because I think it's that a really hard situation, the suicide, and some people who love committed suicide. By the way, that information you get about Jesus channeling as well, I mean, that is really important.
What was the question?
About Jesus, I mean, you get that information about Jesus from channeling Jesus?
Yes, one of the channels who's in my second and third books, Pamela Crabbe, she channels Jesus. When he speaks to her, he uses his given Hebrew name, which is Yeshua, J-E-S-H-U-A. But those channelings, I think, are some of the most beautiful in the second and third books.
Yeah, for sure. The next question is from Valentina, from Argentina.